my goodness, I need to catch my breath. I guess I need to do the Tony Robbins thing too. Woo-hoo!
Are you a little bit winded?
Breathe. I just got into the studio. I just left the other studio. I came over here and anyways, how are you?
You don't look sweaty. You don't look sweaty.
It's a good thing. Us girls don't sweat. I think we missed or something like that. But anyways,
we perspirate.
There we go. Hey everyone, this is Real and Raw with Lynn Serrano, and who are you?
I'm the other guy. I'm Brian.
Oh, hi, Brian. Oh, no, why do you got to throw the other guy, Brian? Come on.
Oh, yeah. See what I did there without even knowing it?
Stop!
I didn't even, seriously, I just did that out of the blue. I didn't.
Dude, Saturday I got a Tinder guy on. Yesterday I had my ex-boyfriend, which he tells me of 10 years, but whatever.
You thought it was 9. He said it was 10, so I don't know who's right.
I'm just saying, they're all coming out of the woodworks, man. Isn't that how it just goes?
When Lynn has the microphone, all the exes come to the mic.
Oh, that's okay. I've got a good memory. That's all I can say.
Well, it's either 10 or 9.
Well, I should be flattered that he said 10, right? I mean, come on. Either that or he just rounds up.
Maybe for you it was 1 year too long, because if he remembers it was 10, it was 9 for you. So it's
Brian, shh. He's laid off. He might be watching today.
Sorry, Rick. Hi.
Oh,
it's all in good.
Yeah. Wow. Trust. Yeah. The power it brings and the gifts it can bring. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. I didn't get onto the thing yesterday with him. Yeah. I can't trust that he's going to be on time. I didn't say that though, right? Anyways, but I did say that was the one thing I didn't like about him, is him being late. So, yeah. So, that's just the way it goes.
There was some great stories. Leonardo, thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here. We're just goofy people just trying to make people just laugh, think for themselves, and just have fun. So we appreciate you being here.
Leonardo, see what we have here? I have my keyboard and I have a pen. That's all I got. We have no script. So
yeah, I have a wireless thing here too.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's there's no script except for that we just have a little topic, and we're currently going through the past couple weeks. It's our 3rd straight week of talking about different elements of relationships. So thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, and yesterday was just something. Had my ex-boyfriend of 10 years on here, and I was like, man. And I was telling him myself. I was pretty much telling on myself before he did. I want you to know that. But I told on him too, so that's all good.
Well, just so everybody knows, there was some more words that we added to Lynn's vocabulary that if we wanted to, bring in that Long Island, style, we could ask her to, say those words for us. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So you're going somewhere tomorrow, I hear.
Yeah, I'll be heading out to Southern California for a couple of weeks. So it's going to be definitely a change of pace, from our show, where it's like, whoa, it's even earlier than when you're where you are, So
so will you be able to do the show from where you're going to be after
traveling? I'll be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. You got to bring the whole studio with you. That's pretty impressive.
No, I'm going to bring freaking palm trees and try not to make the room look like I'll try to get near a window or something lively, but
that's cool. That's cool.
A COVID-free environment, So
that'll be awesome. So, yeah, the power it brings.
Yeah, so trust the power it brings and gifts it can bring, and it's just it's another. The first week we covered a potpourri of different topics about the definition of relationships and then acquaintances. And then last week was all about likability. And this week is all about trust. Because I think in the hierarchy of relationships, you start with like, then you move to trust, then you move to relationship. And then, there might be something else in between that. But there's a lot of pieces that need to be in place. And there's a lot of qualities, I think, that overlap, like integrity and respect and character, just all, if you have one of them, it can't be complete.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's what I loved about yesterday as far as, trust and stuff like that. I mean, there's some good memories, the last 10 years. And and when you have a trust with somebody, even if you're not with them all the time, it's just a bond that nobody can take away. And that's really nice in life, because sometimes we have just seasons and not everybody goes forward in life with you, but
Right. And
doesn't
I
mean they have to be part of it.
and I mean, just an observation of having you tell the stories about going to different places in Rick's Trans Am, it was very clear to me, that what are when you trust somebody, the things you're willing to do that you're not even aware, or
Yeah.
who you're being for that person. Like it lit you up, you were excited, you were happy, he was trustworthy of you, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many like little things that when we tell a story, that without telling a story, really it doesn't justify the means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you write it on paper, you don't get the emotion, you don't get the connection. And
Yeah.
so I remember yesterday just seeing how your face was when you're doing
Yeah.
something that you've never done before. And Rick was trusting, of you driving his Trans Am. So.
Yeah. He was like, I love you, baby, but I don't know if I want to do this. He literally was like, I don't know, this could be like ruin everything. Like,
Yeah, I love you, but I don't know if we're gonna go that far.
yeah, I was like, no, please let me drive it. It'll be okay. And it was funny because I drove it and I knew I was going to drive it better than he did, because he was grinding gears, man. So I didn't want to tell him, dude, you don't know how to drive this. Let me show you, because who knows? I could have got in there. It could have been the vehicle, and I could have been grinding the shit too. So I was like, I wasn't going to talk up. I wasn't going to boast until I actually got to do it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but when I think of trust, though, I've been blessed because I have relationships that people totally trust me, and it's been an honor. And people that have come in my life when shit has hit the fan, and it just reminded me of another friend who, when I went through my divorce, I mean, it was not a pretty time. My credit was shot. It was just a really, really horrible time. And I needed a new vehicle for my business and stuff. And a friend literally went, got a van. I didn't pick it out, didn't matter. But they went and signed for a van, and I made the payments for 5 years.
Wow.
They trusted me, and I made the payments. I was never late or anything, but literally, and even other people say, you know what? I trust you, Lynn, but I don't know if I would have ever done that. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm just so blessed for the people that trust me. I mean, it's an honor when somebody trusts you enough to, pay. I more than paid for that vehicle and whatnot. And it's super, super cool when you're trusted and, people help you out. It really is, something I take to heart. So yeah.
So there's a few things, and it's like I'm gonna share just a couple powers that just came to mind. So if we want to dive down deeper, be thinking about powers that trust has given you, right? So a couple of them that I just jotted down was authenticity. Is that when you have the power of trust can give you authenticity, that there's nobody like you. You are your own authentic person, right? You don't have to hide anything. You can just be yourself. You don't have to put on a fake facade, you know. And so a power of trust is that you're always going to show up however you show up. You don't have to be anybody other than who you are. And that's got to be one of the best things ever, because I never understood of people that showed up differently for different people, how exhausting that has to be. How, you don't know what you're going to get out of this person. Like if you're looking at it from a view or a fly on the wall, how does this person show up to all these different people, and how long can they keep that up?
Well, like I said, I'm a very carefree. I try to be very transparent and very authentic, and I don't give a care if I got a big booty and I'm on a bike. I'm on a booty. I got a booty and I'm on a bike. I mean, it doesn't matter. But the point I'm getting at is that sometimes, though, to save my energy, though, some people won't get to see me because I choose not to. I choose, and I think more now. I impress upon myself that when I feel that way, I'm like, oh no, bullshit. You're going to show up. You're going to even show up more than you do show up any other time. So now I push through the fact that sometimes I do want to hide. Sometimes I don't want to be transparent and let people know, all the training I've done and all these things that I'm capable of because, you know, selfishly, it's just I just learned how to preserve myself to 55. Didn't think I'd make it this long, people. And now I'm like, okay, now I got to leave all the gifts in the earth. I think it's just like when you have kids and they turn 18, you got to transition, you got to pivot because it's your new life and it's your time to be or whatever, you have no excuses. Same thing goes with the fact that, I just sit there and say to myself, why did I hide so long? I mean, I guess because I had to create myself, invent myself, and do so many times. I mean, like I said, like trying to lose weight now is totally different than the 2 other times I did it before. But I'm like, why did I wait so long to acknowledge or accept myself where I was and be happy with that? Never thought it was good then. Didn't think it was good. Now I'm like, shit, let me lose 50 pounds. I'll be happy with that.
Right.
But you just, it's the things you take for granted always because it's instill in you that you can do it and you can do it and things like that. But it's something else when you don't trust yourself and you start questioning. It's just like, you get on a bike or whatever and you're like, how am I doing this? You don't understand why you're doing it. You're just doing it. Don't question it or your ass is going to fall on the ground. I mean, like, don't try to balance a bike without moving, people. Don't stop and say, shit, what am I doing? It's like the coyote at the end of the road,
Well, and how much of the time in our life are we actually taking action versus thinking about it? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's called analysis paralysis. If I think about it more, I'll be able to figure it out more.
But then you don't have the actions to show that you know all this stuff. So,
right. But if it's something that has already happened, and you keep recreating in your head as far as it's going to give me a different outcome. Now, when your heart is in something like a breakup or something, you're going to want to rehash it in your brain to think that your brain is going to want to do what it's going to do, but the outcome is definitive. It's finite. It's already happened.
Right.
And so when you bring emotions in and heartbreak and years and commitment and love, your brain doesn't your brain just wants you to survive by nature, fight or flight, right? The amygdala, right? But then when you bring in emotions and you bring in this thing and then you talk to everybody who you want to share it with, your brain is looking for evidence that you can find something different because you don't like the outcome, right?
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's going to be any different. And we all don't know what we don't know about life. We all don't know what we don't know. I mean, it's not even in our conscious or subconscious. That's why we can't even, like I don't know astrophysics. I know that I don't know that. But how do we describe something that we don't know what we don't know? Because we haven't
that we don't know that we didn't know it.
And so it's something that is it could be very conceptual, but no matter if somebody's an expert or whatever, there's a part of life that they're still unaware of. Now, it's a matter of like, you could take that one of two different ways. You could be open to that journey with humility and an embrace, like a sponge, or you can be upset about it as if like, I don't know everything that there is to know. Well, that's never going to happen. I can't think of one person on the planet right now that knows everything there is to know about everything. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean, we all have
it's just ridiculous, but it's like, where is the one person in the world that knows everything that there is to know?
Google.
Wow. Google's not a person.
I know. But again, that's the cool thing is that's what people don't understand, that we all have pieces that go together with someone else. And that is why it works. And that is why there's substance there. There's and it's so funny because I think yesterday I've got all these books that I've actually read or this or that. It's just like in high school, you knew all your presidents and all that shit. After a while, you don't remember any of that shit. So it's like, I'm like, Lynn, and all it's going to take is for me to go into these bookshelves and literally go through the pages where I highlighted, oh, yeah, I remember that, just to reactivate that stuff in my system. And
Right.
now that we're doing the show, I feel like I need to do that. I want to do that. But damn, we pile up so much stuff inside us, and we don't get to see what that, yeah, like you said, we don't know everything. Hi, how are
Hello.
you?
Thanks for being here.
And so again, it really is nice between books and knowledge and people and YouTube and Google and all that. And you get older, it's like, holy shit, man, that's just too much for the brain.
I
Overload.
I think that one of the other powers in that is that through every experience that we go through, where especially the heartbreak ones, where we survive that experience, right? Our mental, physical, all of that, we survived it. Okay. That's number one. Number two is that those lessons that we have forever, those are priceless, And as we talked about in a previous show, is that there is, in my opinion, there is no way that anybody should comment about something that they know nothing about or we're not involved in, right? How arrogant is it for somebody to be, like, let's go with a metaphor here, be up on the stands of the basketball court, when the game was happening on the court, right?
Right.
They were not involved in it, so it's very easy. Like this coming Sunday, right? Biggest sporting event of the year, okay? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs at Tampa Bay Stadium. Okay, first time it's ever happened where one of the teams in the Super Bowl is hosting the Super Bowl. How many people are going to, besides the ads and the TV commercials, how many people are going to be up in the comfort of their house, maybe with some weenies or wings and a beverage, and saying they shouldn't have did that?
Oh,
now, you take a lifetime of coaching like Andy Reid, right? He will, if he wins the Super Bowl this Saturday, analysts are saying that this will solidify his legacy in NFL history. Okay.
wow. And if he does it?
Well, who knows? He might still, you know what I mean? But this would solidify that.
Right.
And what they're saying is that if Patrick Mahomes wins this game, and regardless if he gets the MVP, if he wins another Super Bowl in two consecutive years, it's like the gavel was being handed off from, as they call Tom Brady, the GOAT, handing it off from him to who's taking over for him in the modern day football. Right now, they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Okay, coaches have years of experience. They might have played each other. They played each other earlier this season, right? So they know the nuances of each other. But it's like what they do on the field isn't going to make sense to some people, right? Like a couple years ago when the Super Bowl happened, where they're at the 1 yard line. The Seattle Seahawks they could not stop Marshawn Lynch, right?
Oh, yeah.
He ran for over 200 yards in that game, could not be stopped. They needed 1 yard. 1 yard. He was not stopped the whole entire game. The call was made to throw the ball. It was intercepted in the end zone. No Super Bowl. No Super Bowl victory. 1 yard away. Now, everybody in the stands is like, what was that? Right? Understandable, it might have been a silly play. I mean, common sense is like, okay, if somebody can't be stopped, you give them the ball again, right? But that lens was not seen by everybody. Now, is it right or wrong? Well, people can conclude whatever they want, but nobody was in the headset in that given moment besides those coordinators telling those players to do that.
Right.
So it's much easier to criticize something that was already done than when it's in the moment.
Absolutely.
Like for instance, like God forbid this happens to anybody, but like let's say somebody breaks into your house, right? And you've got to conceal and carry, right? And this isn't meant to be political at all, but it's like, okay, in that given moment, somebody that lives in a different neighborhood with no crime, they've got guards, they've got a fence, they got cameras everywhere, is going to be a heck of a lot different than somebody that lives in a questionable area.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go through life the same way in the same circumstances, so of course they're going to look at things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So just whatever lenses you're looking through is what reality is going to look like.
And there's a lot of angles to lenses.
No, yeah, absolutely. Some have dirty lenses, some have colored lenses.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a show about that.
I mean,
Like
some have the big, just with the big
binocular
bar
ones.
across the top. It's like we're going back to the 80s, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's like, "Oh my
right.
god, those, those glasses weigh more than my water bottle," you know what I mean?
The SpongeBob and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. You know, so other powers that come out of this just from the notes I wrote while Lynn was sharing is, for me, the power of trust is that you earn something. You feel like literally like, wow, I didn't know what this was going to turn into if it was a friendship or somebody I've known a long time because I did it day by day, but it felt right, you know? And it's like you just get this feeling. And there's not like any markers on the wall or anything that say you earned something, but you feel that. It's like, wow, these people are going to invite me over to their house for a barbecue or they want me to be in their lives. And it's like, it's not anything to boast about, but it's like, wow,
It's huge when you look
this
at
is
those things.
cool, you know?
Absolutely.
And the next one is that you've proven yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you've proven yourself, whatever that is that your what came out of your mouth matched with what you did.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't get any more granular than that.
Yeah.
When what came out of your mouth is matched up with what you did. And those are
Mhm.
parallels, like they work one and the same.
Yeah.
When they're off, you know, or when they're inconsistent, like sometimes they're there, but then other times they're not. It's like the more it gets astray from being there consistently, people are wasting their time and effort,
Yeah.
you know?
It's absolutely.
What other
Yeah.
what other powers do you see from trust?
You know, a power of trust is I've had more people trust me, even like with the lingerie business that we're talking, I'm helping these couples, actually sharing their intimate, I took sexology and stuff like that. And, you know, and just knowing these people are opening up to me and being vulnerable,
Yep.
every time they did that or they ordered stuff from me or this or that, I'm just like, I step back going, wow, to think, I mean, okay, so I learned sexology, okay, but to think though, I mean, I'm not a registered therapist or anything, but the fact that it's because of word of mouth how I helped this couple, that couple. And I mean, there's people that weren't even able to conceive that went to in vitro and all this stuff that later ended up conceiving. And they're like, Lynn, it's all because of everything you've helped, you know? And then maybe there's some kids that are around that they blame me for too, but that's beside the point. But all I'm saying is when I take a step back and realize the trust people have in me and confide in me and help empower people in their lives, it's just such an awe. I don't take that lightly. It's pretty humbling because you know, sometimes we trust the wrong people and sometimes we trust the right people. And I always come from that, of good intention. So when people have opened up and have been there for me and trusted me when so many other people said, don't trust her, don't know her, or don't care to know her, or she's damaged, or anything that was said,
Mhm.
that had nothing to do with who I was. I just it's always been humbling when people can truly see me
Mhm.
and know where at least I come from good intentions. So the trust in that and the gift they gave me to there's times I've wanted to give up, but I realize that that's just selfish because I have impacted other people. I want to impact other people. And but I don't ever want to think my shit don't stink neither. So hey Heather,
What's
nice
up,
to see you
Heather?
on
Good
here.
to see you
So
here.
so the power of trust and the gifts it's brought me. I mean, I have made I may have given and helped many people as much as I can. And I do that not knowing that the people that help me are the people that I never feel like I could ever pay them back for helping me.
Yeah.
So I always pay it forward with, helping with any value I can give people. But it's just amazing when you're giving value out. It's not like it doesn't necessarily mean that you give to somebody because you think you're going to get something out of them. Because what you're going to get out of it is not going to be repaid to you in that form. It's
Correct.
going to be a different form.
Correct.
So it's just amazing when you really see, you know, that we're all here to serve one another, and the world is a better place when we're giving. Because like I said, we all can't be the best plumber. We all can't be the best electrician. We all can't be all these things, but we can be a variety of things that unite and get together. So yeah, and Heather said something. Good to see you too.
You too.
Yeah.
Lynn, you underestimate the impact you have.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
oh, thank you. Well, it just,
That's not
you know,
uncommon. That's not uncommon for the most for the people that give the most. You know, they contribute the most. Is that they don't really realize that they don't honestly they don't realize what they're doing because it's a part of them. It's like second
yeah.
nature. It's like
Well,
putting on pants or going to get the mail. It's just something that you just do.
yeah. Well, and it's funny because I love just being who I am in the sense that I do things, and even the hardest people see some of the things I do, and it melts them. And I'll say this about my ex-husband who, it was a hard life. My kid's dad, we were up in Alberta, Canada, getting our eyes done 20 years ago in August.
Uh-huh.
And there was this little boy that came out. He rode his bike to I think we were like a Dairy Queen. Let's just call it a Dairy Queen, where
Okay.
they have ice cream and then they have hot dogs and things like this. And this kid comes as an ice cream parlor with some change, and he gets his hot dog. And I just see him there all by himself eating.
Hmm.
And mind you, it was a little boy. Now, mind you, I have a boy in heaven. So, but I see him sitting there eating his food. And I said, "So are you going to get ice cream after that?" And he's like, "No, this is all I can get." And I'm like, "Oh." So after he got that, I went ahead and I was like, told him at the counter, that boy can have whatever he wants.
That's
And
awesome.
so he went up there and he got what he wants, and I paid for it. And then he goes outside. He goes outside and sits on the curb with his bike, and he's eating this. And I got so much gratitude out of that. But I looked over, and my husband at the time just was crying like a baby. "What's the matter?" He goes, "That was such a nice thing." And usually he didn't have anything to say about whatever I did, but I was like, "You see, even the hardcore assholes can see something kind in what you do." And to me, it was the right thing to do. I mean, for a kid to come, if my son went in or my kid went in and got something to eat that they needed more nutrition than ice cream, you bet your ass they deserved to have that. But it gave me so much joy. But what was great was to actually see somebody realize that that was the right thing to do. So
Well, there's a distinction right there, Lynn, that logical versus emotional, right?
yeah,
You know, um, thinking about it versus feeling it.
yeah,
And the thing with it is that everybody, I mean, and we talked about this before with Dale Carnegie's quote, something to the degree of, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like in 2 months, you can earn more friends by becoming genuinely interested in other people versus them trying or versus you trying to get them to become interested in you.
right, right. And that's what.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why when I meet somebody, I don't always try to see what I could do for them or conform to them. I
Right.
may share some things I have knowledge of or that I can do, but I wanted them to feel like I'm not trying to sell myself to them
Yeah.
because like I truly didn't think that when we talked that we would be doing a show. It ended up really
Why is
cool.
that? Why
I
is
don't
that?
know. It was just so cool. It's just so cool. I just enjoy you, Brian. But all I'm saying is like, I never come in with any intentions. It just, I'm gonna be me. Whatever happens. And it just, I found that makes me feel comfortable too, and not vulnerable. So
Yeah, when
yeah,
it comes to those things, I always look for paying it forward. Like I mentioned in previous shows, I never come empty-handed. You
yeah,
know, like today, last night, a friend of mine and his wife are going from Crown Point, Indiana. Eric and his wife Trish, they're driving from Crown Point, Indiana, up to Black River Falls, Wisconsin, and then back. And
wow,
and they're like, "Hey, do you want to meet?" You know, and I haven't seen him in a while, but I mean, Eric and I talk, every couple of weeks or so, and they usually have a couple gatherings every year. But obviously, with COVID, that didn't happen, and so I'm like, "Yeah," and so my mind automatically goes into default mode, which is like, "Ooh, what can I bring them that'll enrich their mind?" Or something like an article. never come empty handed. Something like an article to let them know I'm thinking of them, or a signed book or something, right? My heart is feeling that, because, I can always buy more books, but I'll never get that moment back.
Yeah.
And
I,
that, to me, that's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, it gets deeper. It's like, ooh, what can I do? And it's like a fun game I play with myself, because I know that it's who I am and it's my self-expression, but it helps them,
yeah. You reminded me of this lady. She used to help me when I had my hysterectomy and my kids were little and I've almost died and stuff. And she's done so much stuff for me. And well, this is even before all that happened, but it's so cool because this one time she had told me, Lynn, I'm having a garage sale and I'm hoping I make enough money to go to this course that this lady has. Emily Barnes was her name, of organizing. She's coming to town and I want to meet her. Like, oh, where'd you see that? She goes, I saw it in the penny saver. Oh, she goes, and she's gonna hold me a spot. I'm like, oh, okay. So we got off the phone. I went ahead to the penny saver and I called and said, look, was there a lady says that she wants a spot and you're holding a spot for her? Yeah. I said, I want to pay for that. She goes, really? I said, yes. So then I called her and said, so how was your garage sale? It was great and everything. But Lynn, I go, what? I tried to call that lady pay. And I go, oh. She goes, and she said somebody paid for it. She goes, there's only one person I told. It was like, oh. So yeah, I
Was that
sometimes
you, Lynn? Was that you?
no, but I mean, I'm just saying that I like doing things when people don't expect it, Sometimes I don't do it right that spot, but I love to do things like that,
Well,
unexpectedly too.
on the
So
on the flip side of that, it's like, okay, I remember back in the day of doing like networking events and like these little 5 o'clock mixers, like a part of like BNI, which is Business
yeah,
Network
yep.
International, and other groups. It could be for technology. It could, any profession is going to have their groups.
Hmm.
And I remember going to those, and it was just very nauseating when people come in and they either don't get it or they don't want to. And what I mean by that is where I just sit back and it's like, I'm an observing type, where it's like, okay, do we have boisterous people? Do we have people that don't care about what other people think of them? You can find that out just by sitting there and seeing where the loud people are, and the ones that come all the time, the ones that have opinions about things and get involved in the group. And then you have the people that are there just to manipulate the situation and look for a loophole, right? And it's like, ugh. Even if you are the best real estate person on the planet, you have a shitty way of doing it. I mean, like who's, oh, I don't got time to be here, but I want you to depend on me to to sell or buy or help you buy a house. But but you can't be here for an hour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dimensions about the character of doing that, where it's like, I just, it's kind of like pomade, but it's like greasy. You know what I mean? Where it's like
Yeah.
there's just something wrong about that way of doing it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I don't have time to be here, but if you have money and you want to buy a house, or if you've got something to sell now, I'll give you my time. No, that's not the way value works.
No.
Now, if you're going to keep schlepping around from, event to event to event, well, there might be a problem with your formula. You know what I mean? And it's not because you're not good at real estate, it's because your approach stinks.
Yeah.
Because who's going to buy into that garbage?
Yeah.
This
People.
person's only here for 10 minutes and like, hey, if you know somebody, you know somebody, you know somebody. Get away
See,
from me.
when it's expected or obligated, like the other thing I do is if I ask one of my friends, hey Brian, you want to go to lunch? Like, okay, and we go. Like, I usually pay. Like I pay like way, like I'll be sneaky about it. You won't even know I paid for your dinner. That's what I do. And my thing is like, I've had some of those friends that are like, well, Lynn, you paid the last 2 times. I'm like, well, maybe I'm banking it up so that when I can't, you can, or whatever, but I don't keep that kind of record,
No.
I don't, I just don't like keeping that kind of record with people, and
Well, and
so yeah.
that's where the, for me, it's like, I'm not the best at gratitude. You know what I mean? Like when it comes into like extra compensation for an event after they paid my fee or whatever, it's like, they wouldn't have reserved me if it wasn't for the results that we created or the outcome. right? They wouldn't have invested in that and went through the process and gave me their time and investment unless it would be anything other than that, right?
Right.
But
Right.
when it goes above and beyond that, it's something I continue to work on, and it starts with saying thank you and accepting it versus like downplaying it. And I don't
Yeah.
know how to disrupt that for myself, but I keep trying to get better at it
Yeah.
because
I'm working on that too. Like, Catherine Franco sent me flowers and stuff. It's just,
those are
it like,
beautiful, by the way. Those are
yeah,
beautiful.
thank you. They're still beautiful today. And the thing though is, yeah, it was really cool. You and I were after the show. I'm like, somebody's here, Brian. Wait, it's flowers. I mean, so you were here when I got them, and they still look pretty beautiful. Look at that. They still look beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe not that one, but all of them do look beautiful. But seriously, it's one of those things where I love giving people appreciation and thank them, but when they thank me, it's like, how, and not that I'm saying it's far few in between, and it may be, but I don't care for that. It's not the accolades, and I think that's why, like, even Ken Walls, you try to give him a compliment, and he's just pretty humble, or he doesn't know, he deflects it, and I get that. I mean, I totally get that, because you're just used to showing the gratitude, but getting it back and trusting the fact that you deserve it and you earned it is, it's one of those things where you just but you
Well,
got to, because I realize, though, I love giving people accolades and acknowledging them, and I'm like, and I wouldn't want somebody not to accept my appreciation for them. So I look at it the other way, say, no, Lynn, you're getting back what you give. So
well, in the more that like I remember a couple years ago that the groom's mom, came up to me, and she was really cool to work with. There to support, and I was there for the rehearsal the day before and the rehearsal, and gave me a very sizable check after the wedding, and
oh,
and it was like, wow. I'm like, whoa, and the more that you inquire about like understanding why they did it, the more there's a tendency for them to feel insulted, perhaps. You know what I mean? Or let
yeah,
down versus just being grateful for it, and not coming from a getting the gratitude as ever from, yeah,
yeah,
is and it's like, instead of just accepting it and foregoing that big question mark in my brain and trying to rationalize it, just accept it. And you can be authentic without knowing,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just know that they wouldn't be doing that if you didn't go above and beyond what, in their eyes, what you were there to do.
right,
So
right.
that I'm always the one that, and Jeffrey Gitomer said, it's like, just give, give, and give with don't measure. The
Oh, of
world
course,
of, mentioned that earlier. You
of
alluded to that
course,
earlier.
of course, and that's the whole thing, is it just feels good to give. I mean, one thing or another, it truly is nice to
Well,
just,
it's just like, and I'm so grateful for the background that I've had in BNI and going through. I was president of a chapter. I was the education coordinator, through Dale Carnegie course, one of his courses, and just all these things that shaped the way where it's like, what did I get out of organizations? It's like, pay it forward. Think of the other person first. Never
mm,
come empty handed. And so it's
yeah,
like, when if Eric and Trish are watching, on their journey, maybe they're not, but it's like, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, okay, what can I provide them? What can I give them that extends my value to them? Never come empty-handed, right? I love signed books, but sometimes I don't always have a lot of copies, right?
right, right,
Maybe they have that one already because I gave it to them. But it's like showing up with something of value in that moment that they can chew on, or that they can read, or something that'll stimulate their attention. When Here's the thing, when you do that consistently or whenever, after a while it turns into a lot, instead of like the once in a while. But then if somebody does it once in a while, then more likely they're going to think, well, what are they trying to get me to do? Instead of knowing that that's who they are,
right,
they lower their guard down, or they don't even have their guard up, because that's just how you are. You give,
right.
and But obviously, somebody that we've never met before, they don't know that because they haven't witnessed us. So,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So,
So what did you give them?
well, I've got a couple articles. Like my article for February just came out in this woman's publication, and
Nice.
I write. I formed a partnership with with a group of ladies that run it, and I did one of the main lady. There's three of them, but I did her nephew's wedding in 2015, and we formed a partnership and a relationship where I'll barter my services a couple times a year for their events where they raise money for charities and whatnot.
Nice.
For me to have some space in their magazine, and I'm not a all my business is word of mouth referrals. So in that space, I don't want to sell anything. I want to help couples or parents of couples consider a new point of view, right?
Right.
And especially as we're coming out of what the world is dealing with, it's like my writing is very direct. It's very in your face, but it's if you take it on, it could help. And
Yeah.
the title of the new one is a cookie cutter is generalist. And
Double-edged sword. Sword.
yeah.
Sword.
So cookie cutter is generalist and personalized is special. That's the title of the article. So,
Nice.
yeah. So I'm going to print them off a copy of that. And then if I find some other articles, because it's like I'm always reading stuff. So if I can just, click on a link and print them off a copy before I got to go, it's, and then, they'll probably get something in the mail from me. You take a picture at the end. I'll probably personalize a card and send it to them when I get back from California. So
Nice. Sweet.
and that to me, it's just like, it's just automatic. It's like that's foundationally what's there for me.
Yeah.
Some kind of thing that they can use if they take it on or have a chance to read. If they don't, that's okay too, right? But it's like those moments.
It's
What
the
are you going
thoughts
to do?
that count.
Absolutely.
It's
You know,
always the thoughts.
and the biggest thing for me, Lynn, and maybe this, maybe you can relate to this, is that when somebody is just trying to get something, it just seems like it becomes more inauthentic all the time, and you can see
Mhm.
it. You could see it quicker and faster than ever before.
Mhm.
Because the verbiage is the same. You're in touch with your heart, so your body sensations would match up with the same thing. If it's an email, it's templated. It's all automated, so they don't even have to know you. And it's like, really, you didn't personalize this at all.
No, you just click the button.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to take an enormous amount of time to be personalized. That's where the
No.
little things matter. But the
Yeah.
little things consistently matter most.
Absolutely.
Because especially like if a couple and families are planning a wedding, the wedding is not complete until the outcome that they desired or is created is applied or delivered.
Yeah.
That could be months and it could be years. So there's a commitment that needs to be made throughout that.
Mhm.
If that is going to be fulfilled on the day, and
Yep.
we all have a choice about what that's going to look like, and there is no rules or laws about what that can be.
Right.
That's the beautiful part, is that we can create our relationships however we want.
Absolutely.
But if we
Absolutely.
pigeonhole that they have to look a certain way, or if I do 2 things for this person, they better do 3 for me, and all this kind of garbage. No,
No. No. That's
no.
that I've had relationships like that, and I've really been cautious to that
Mhm.
because I'm like, where are they going to nail me to the claw? To the wall, because they'll feel like, well, I did this and I did that. I'm not going to have. Uh,
Well, and you said something before where about when you take, going out to dinner, is that I also think that it's just like, when somebody expects something, that's when it
mhm.
can get really awkward
Mhm.
versus having a foundation where it's like, hey, I fly solo, I pay for all my meals, there's nothing against you, I don't want there to be any obligation
Right.
or
Right.
feeling like you have to give me something. I don't want that.
Absolutely.
If you want
Yeah.
to buy dinner, and here's the thing for me, it's one thing if it's open like that, where somebody's willing to take care of their stuff. It's when somebody without saying expects it. To me, that
Yeah.
doesn't work. I'm a realist where it's like, I don't, unless it comes out of your mouth, I don't know if it's true or not, right? I'm going to assume things because we know what happens with assumptions. The majority of the time,
Right.
they don't exist, or they don't come to fruition, rather.
Right.
But when you get the feeling that somebody just expects you to pick up the bill or whatever, it gets freaking dirty. To me, it
Yeah.
does. It's really
Yeah, it
freaking
does.
dirty.
Yeah, it does.
So let's move over with our time remaining. We got a few minutes left, and thanks to all of our viewers again for being with us on this journey. For everybody catching the replay, we thank you for being here. Make sure you comment, let us know how you're doing and how this is helping you. Before we get to that, Lynn, put up the other one. Is
I'm sorry.
let's go back to gifts. So for me, the gifts of having, I just wrote down a few. For me, there's no worries. I have worries about if I'm around the right people, not. Heather says, when you do something for anyone, never expect. Absolutely. Because the intention is going to be either self-indulgent or selfless. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And now here's the thing, is that we may intend it to be one way, but the only intention or perception that matters is who it is. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I didn't feel like I was forceful or judgmental, whatever. Well, it doesn't matter because it happened. So no worries. Is that when you have those gifts, it's like there's no worries. You don't have to wonder what's going on, right? So there's some serenity in that. Another one is that you're either with me or not. You don't have to wonder if that person is solidified in your world, right? Are they coming or going like a revolving door? Do they have some drama? Then I just hope I catch them on good days versus if I catch them on days.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is clarity. You know where you stand with the people in your world. You can just be open and honest. You don't have to hide. You don't have to, watch your wording because you might upset somebody. Because it doesn't mean they can handle it. It's just that they're maybe a little sensitive, right? But your heart is always in the right place. And unconditional love is another one. Is that when you can tell someone love you, and it doesn't have to be, and I'm not talking intimate relationships. I'm just talking about what's inside somebody's heart. Now that might freak some people out depending on where you are, but it's like, in my opinion, I think it's a very mature thing to do. And I think it's a very heartfelt thing to do, is that we can honestly say, I love another human being. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give to somebody, is that their quirks, your differences, whatever, but you love somebody. You love their soul. You love what they represent in the world, that those are non-negotiable, when where it does get a little murky is when somebody just can't say those words or whatever. Maybe they've never said those words, throughout their whole life, and that's okay. But what's holding you back? Is it feelings? Is it expectation? Is it purpose? So what say you in the gifts of trust?
Well, I could agree with everything you said, and then some. The power of just, it's just like when there's certain situations you always think, oh, this person can help me, or that person, or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also nice when somebody can call you in their darkest moment, and you be there for them. Yeah. It feels good that it's like an hour. It's an honor when somebody comes at their darkest hour to come and talk to you, mm-hmm. and you have the chance to be a hero that they need right at that moment. Yeah. That too is very, very empowering and blessing. And, like, I'll give you a quick example, and I know we're going to get going here, but there was one time I went to go visit my dad in Puerto Rico. My dad was going through some cancer, mm-hmm. and I had to leave my kids, and I wasn't very trusting of my husband to take care of them the way I wanted to. I left food for them and everything like that. But I just, I had everything on a schedule, and I asked one of my friends if she would go check on my kids. And to me, it was an honor for me to trust somebody that I thought I could trust to go check on my kids for me. And instead, she bashed me back and said, Lynn, why would you go see your father if you don't trust your husband with your kids?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? That I trusted you with something that and so I turned it around to say, do you think I just picked somebody I didn't think I could trust with something that's so valuable, And I mean, we made amends. I mean, she apologized, but she just totally looked at it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She just could condemn me, not knowing. I'm like, my dad has cancer. I got to go see him in Puerto Rico. And I'm asking you to do me a favor. Anybody humanly possible would think, okay, Lynn, if that's what I could do to help you in your situation right now. Instead, she condemned me, going, well, your kids were home. And I mean, they were old enough to be home, but your husband wasn't there and the house was a mess. So what if the freaking house was a mess? Were my kids okay? Are they
Right.
okay? Were they bleeding? That's all I'm asking. Do they still have food? I'm asking you a favor, So again, it's one of those things where, the power of trust was, to me, I thought I was trusting somebody that I truly could trust. And yet she could just condemn me for going to see my dad. So again, the power of trust was, I learned, don't rely on her, I mean, it
Right.
was just
Well, and here's the thing is that when it comes to those moments throughout life, in that moment it might not be that great, but it's like now right?
right.
What side of the
Absolutely.
fence are you on? And I
Yeah.
don't want to be black and white where it's either this or
Right.
that, but some of this is where
Hmm.
you're either for me or against me. Which one is it?
Exactly. And then she realized, I said, look, I thought if anybody could give me some comfort and check on my kids for me. I thought you'd give me comfort and let me know. I didn't think you were going to get condemned for it, but again, both of you are going deep and speaking 100% truth.
Thank you, Heather. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Heather. We appreciate that. But
That's what we do on this show.
that's right. We just, we take the examples in life and we go with it. So again, the power that brings the gifts was it showed me how she wasn't coming from a right place, checking on my kids. She didn't, and the first thing after she saw my kids, are they okay? Like, do they have their food? Are they okay? Yeah, but the house is a mess. Why'd you leave? I was like, okay, the house is a mess. Okay, yeah, then I guess they're doing great. Thank you for going. And that's exactly what I said to her. But literally was I gave you the gift to check on my kids when I couldn't be there. And I thought that I could trust you. I learned my lesson.
Well, in the power of trust, when you have role reversal scenarios, right?
Mhm.
So if you ever have a moment in a civil way to, if somebody upsets you or went against that trust, right, is when you do a role reversal
Oh, I
where
did.
you put somebody in a position. How would you react?
Oh, I did. I said, you know what? I said, I trusted you. It's not like I asked the Child Protection Agency to check on my kids. I asked you to check on them. So thank you for check. But I mean, we took care of that. We went beyond. But all I'm saying is, people don't realize when you trust somebody in a situation, you got to realize that it took kahunas for somebody to it took kahunas for me to be vulnerable to say, look, I want to make sure my kids still have enough food and that they're doing okay. Can you check on them for me? I mean, hello, McFly,
Well, and that also might be an indicator, as we look at relationships and whatnot. It's like, okay, if you've been okay, so Sandra says, what are your expectations from others? Sometimes it is can provide
Hmm.
100%. But you don't,
Absolutely.
but from my experience, you don't know that until you're in situations that becomes apparent, right?
Right. Right.
With those specific circumstances in this specific moment, how you're feeling. This might be the only person that can watch your kids because you're going to be somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Those things don't all align until there's a moment when it actually is critical, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And when somebody is anytime that you do a role reversal on somebody, is that when they get to see from your point of view, so you guys are looking through the same set of glasses, they either say very little, they deflect it, or they just want out of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, she did apologize and she realized that and stuff, but and I wasn't afraid to say her. Said, you know what? If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't. If I didn't think that you would, yeah. I took care of it.
Good.
But
Good.
again, the point is that the power of trust is, you got to be careful when you assume that you've got that relationship with somebody that comes from the same heart or the same place as you. And not to say that I haven't been there and done things for them. It's nothing like that. It's you wouldn't have your enemy go check on your kids if you didn't, you know what I mean? So,
Well, and another thing to point out is that trust, just like likability in relationships, it's in the moment.
mm-hmm.
You've never solidified that. It's like, I've done all I can in a relationship.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. We don't know
No.
what that is. That's that's rose-colored glasses, pie in the sky type of thing.
Absolutely.
We don't know. If we have great relationships and amazing relationships everywhere from everybody that's important in our life, I want to meet that person. Because I don't think it exists because we don't know what the furthest level is.
Exactly. And that's just it. Not to change you, Brian, but that's just it. I just figured this person would realize that I wouldn't just send anybody over to go check on my kids.
Yeah.
And they were old enough and everything. It was all legit.
So Heather said, I would have felt, sorry, let me cut you off.
That's good.
I would have felt honored because I would have felt that you trusted my mothering skills enough to decide on your behalf. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So again, but that was my assumption of the power of trust in that relationship, And again, you got it was a great lesson. It was a great lesson to know, don't judge somebody that's going to judge you for using the judgment of having them judge. I mean, it's like
well, and I think, the power of trust is by taking on and doing the work consistently. The gifts are the lessons you get from it, good and bad.
Absolutely.
Right? And all of these are ongoing. The power doesn't go away, right? The power of it, because that's a moment by moment thing, along with the gifts. Those are, if we fully take on the gifts of the power and the gifts of trust, they could guide us throughout our whole life.
Mm-hmm.
If we're willing to learn from them, experience them, and make sure that we're in our beliefs, that, how we trust people from one person to the next, it's all the same consistently, regardless of who they are. So let's do the question for today. So the action step and question for everybody that's with us, and we thank you all for being with us, our regulars, along with anybody that is replaying this. We're grateful you're here. What gifts have you been given by trusting others?
Knowledge. Knowledge and appreciation of those that you interact, because that is taking the relationship to a depth of knowing where the limits on some relationships go, as far as that goes.
Sandra, we all get let down. We learn from all things good and bad, 100%.
Absolutely.
Is that there's a quote out there, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, there are two things that happen in life, either the lessons you learned or I'm missing the second part, but it's you either got what you wanted or got the result, or you learned a lesson.
Yeah, right. That's a gist. Yep.
So absolutely. It's one, and the point of this is that instead of looking at it from what gifts I given other people, when we read something, that tells a bigger story, because most people, unless we find somebody so deserving that they gave us a bunch, so then we give it back to them, more likely we've given something to somebody, so then they felt obligated or gave it back to us. So what are those things that you've gotten from other people, in your life? What gifts?
Right.
And I'd be interested to do some research on that. The greater the gift of trust, likely that person is probably in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they've given that to you, it's something lifelong. It's something long term. It's not something where I just do it once and done.
Absolutely.
So, any final thoughts, Lynn, on our topic today?
Just the fact that trusting and trusting is one of those things that if you go ahead and you give trust, doesn't necessarily mean they have the same trust as you.
Correct.
And the different definitions in trusting one another. And that's what was defied by my last story I gave. I trusted, but she didn't trust me enough to think that I made a good enough judgment.
Right.
And yet coming from two different angles and what trust means differently. And sometimes you don't know until, like you said, a case of an emergency, or you're put in that situation to see where there may have been trust that was broken, or maybe there wasn't. But there's so many different calibers of trust in a relationship that are, there's different levels of trust. That's right, Sandy. So go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
So no, basically that's it. The perception of where that person's coming from, and what the level of expectations in that relationship.
Couple final thoughts for me is that everybody's going to reach trust at different times. And, depending on if it's an intimate relationship or whatever it is that if you reach trust faster than other people, that's okay. But don't expect that to, it's not a race, right?
Yeah.
But also though, there's a lot of comfort and love in understanding why somebody may be a little bit more passive. They're a little bit more reserved, right? And to be along with them, to understand their point of view and why they are where they are, means more to them than you can imagine, regardless if they say it.
Absolutely.
Because they're not being pushed and forced. They are where they are given their past or their background. And the best place you can be is with them on their side of the fence, witnessing that as much as humanly possible. And because if somebody's been hurting in a capacity, they're not just going to, depending on how that situation went, if we were to do a role reversal on that, we may be in the same position as them. So just have grace, take time, and be in people's spaces to relate to their world, is one of the best things you can do for others.
Absolutely. Well, we're out of time. We've been out of time. I'm glad I'm not charging you for extra. No, just kidding. Yeah. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow, Brian is traveling. We might either play a past show. We might have some backstage reel for you if everything goes well with that. Not guaranteeing you, but it will be placed at the same time either way. Yep. So, but until we will be live together on Thursday.
Yes, we will.
Okay, so you guys have a good one, okay?
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye.